Hey everyone, welcome to the ultimate guide to using SubmitHub to promote your music. If you aren't familiar with SubmitHub, it's a platform that allows you to connect with curators who could own Spotify playlists, YouTube channels, radio stations, blogs, SoundCloud places, etc. Right? There's a ridiculous amount of curators. I think the official list is over here, 1,800 curators. And SubmitHub is a platform where you can send your music to any one of them at your will. Now, it does cost money to send your music, and there's no guarantee that anyone will actually share it anywhere. What you are guaranteed, at least if you do it the right way, is when you send your music, it'll either get added to whatever you want it to be shared to, or it'll be rejected, but they have to tell you why they're rejecting it. SubmitHub is super strict with how they police their curators. And I've talked to Jason, I've interviewed him several times in this channel. We met up last time in person when he was in Boston, which is a city pretty close to me. And he's always talked about the balance between keeping curators happy and keeping artists happy. You need both to make the platform, and I think his balance has been the reason why SubmitHub has been so successful. But let's get into it. Let me show you how to use this thing. So I already have a song queued. If you don't, you will have to upload it. You basically just give a Spotify link, if you have it, and you upload your audio file. That way all the curators can actually listen on the platform. So I'm just going to use this song here. And there's three options. There is curators, influencers, and hot or not. We're going to be talking about curators now, which is where you're pitching to people who have some type of authority or some platform that they own. Influencers is more like making people or having people make a TikTok video or an Instagram video. And this is actually guaranteed. If they decline you, you actually get your money back. And then hot or not is a way to have people rate your music and get feedback on it of various things that you want. So this could be a good way to just get feedback, try to improve your stuff, maybe learn some information about what your music sounds like, etc. But we're going to be doing curators. And the average share rate here is actually 31%, which is amazing. There's two types of credits. You can actually use SubmitHub for free, but honestly, you're probably not going to get anywhere with it. Most of the curators that have any type of audience do not accept standard credits. And also, you're not guaranteed any reply. So most of the times they're not going to get listened to. But up here, this little shopping cart, this is how you can buy credits. It's $45 for 50 credits. The more credits you buy, the bigger discount you get. I just kind of am going to say $1 a credit, but just remember that in reality, it actually is a little bit less than $1 a credit. It's about 80 cents a credit if you're buying it in certain packages. I actually do have a discount code down below. I think it gets you 10% off. Not your first order, just I think any order. So if you just use that, even if you use SubmitHub, I think it'll just give you 10% off your next order. We're going to do premium. And this, I already filled in, but you will be asked to fill in similar artists, and you can just pull them into Spotify. You'll be asked to choose some genres. They do have an AI auto detection thing. Or it doesn't look like our AI managed to find any strong genre masters. This means the below suggestions might not be accurate, which kind of makes sense. I would call the song alt pop. I believe I put this manually. So it does have elements of indie pop and adult contemporary and pop rock and alternative rock and chillwave. So I see why they had trouble. But this is a good starting point, right? Like, I feel like this is a good assessment. So I'm going to mark it as helpful so that Jason knows his AI systems are working appropriately. But alt pop is what I would go for. But this tells me that maybe I should consider also trying indie pop or adult contemporary in subsequent pitches. So moving right along, we have moods. I just chose sad because the song is sad, but there is a list of different options that you can choose to see what's most relevant. You can add multiple genres as well. I think they cap it at 3, but we're just going to click next here. The next page is going to ask you what kind of feedback would you like. I want you to always say specific and honest, because sometimes people, curators, will actually talk themselves into approving you because they have to think of a reason to tell you why they're rejecting you. If you ask for no feedback, they have to listen for a minute, or they have to listen for 3 minutes, which is 180 seconds, which is amazing. But like, it's a lot easier for someone to just leave it playing and not really pay attention than it is for them to have to like think about how they're rejecting you. So I would recommend always doing this. That's why it has the highest approval rating. If you want to ask for them for feedback on certain aspects, you can, but don't feel like you have to use this feature. You're going to have to put in some communication preferences. This is just what email are you going to get notified with every time you have an update, either rejection or an acceptance. And then if you're submitting to a Spotify playlist, for example, you don't need to give someone copyright permission. But if you're trying to get your music played on a YouTube video, you will have to sign a disclosure just allowing them to use it, right? So, if you're doing Spotify, you don't need it. But if you're doing YouTube or radio stations, you're going to need to choose this. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get any approvals. And now we're into the actual pitching system. All the information we just put in is already here. So we have our genres, we have our artists, we have our other stuff. But the first thing I want to focus on is the how do they share the music. This is really going to come down to you and your goals, right? If you're just looking for playlists, you're going to do probably just Spotify or maybe Spotify Apple. There's very few Apple curators, right? In alt pop, there's none, apparently. Well, not quite, but we'll get through that in a moment. So I'm just going to do Spotify and Apple. And that's the first thing you need to pay attention to. You can take a look at some of these and see if they're relevant for you. But for the most part, I would say these are probably not relevant for you if this is your first time. What I think you should do is filter your approval rates. So I don't want people who reject 80% of the music they get. Maybe 80 is a little too harsh. Maybe like 90. Like if they reject 90%, do you really want to waste your money sending your music to them? Like they might be the biggest, most competitive platform, so maybe the payoff's worth it to you. But in my opinion, you should the first time you do this, like don't go for the hardest possible fish in the pond, right? Go for some of the easier ones. But also, we don't want people that approve 90% of their music either, just because they're going to take anything. So their playlists and platforms can't be that engaged if they're accepting 99% of what they get. So I cap this at 90%. And click update, and then you see the numbers reflect that. Now, similarly, is the credit system, right? Like each curator doesn't have to take one credit. They can request 2, 3, or 4, depending on how big their platform is. All the curators start off only being able to do one credit, and then once they hit certain milestones, they can upgrade to 2, 3, and 4. Most people are kind of in the 2 to 3 area, I would say. So it's between, I don't know, $1. Remember it's 80 cents per thing. It's between $1.60 and $2.40 per submission. Now, when you submit to each person, they have to listen for, I believe, a minute or a minute and a half now. They changed it recently. Let me find that real quick. All right, I found it on Google. So they changed their system where now curators have to listen to a minimum of 60 seconds, where it used to be 20 seconds. And they have to write at least 20 words of feedback, where it used to be 10 words of feedback, which I think is a fantastic change. It also used to be the case that curators had, I believe, 48 hours to reply. And now that has been upgraded to 72 hours, which is great for curators. It's great for artists. It's great all around. So that's how the credit system works. So I believe the first time you do this, you shouldn't bother with 4 creditors. And honestly, you might want to consider filtering out the 3 creditors just to see what can you get for cheaper, right? So you want to kind of play around with these numbers, see how many people there are available. Maybe we say we're going to look at people who are 1, 2, and 3. Maybe you decide you're going to look at just 1 and 2. That part's up to you. So let's say it is 1 and 2. We are looking at people that are interested in this artist, interested in this genre, who are looking at Spotify and Apple playlisting, who don't fit into either of these categories. I'm going to update this to 20 again. And now we have 26 people left. So now we can start the actual work. I'm going to keep the genre match to high to low, but you can change it to approval rate, 62%, 65% approval rate, 53% approval rate. So you could do that if you're looking for easy ones, but we're going to do genre match just to get the best accuracy, essentially. So this Arc dude is coming up as the #1 accurate. His approval rate is 65%. He's been on here for 4 years. He's got a really good genre match, pretty good quality, and pretty good engagement. And we can actually look at even more than this. We can look at his playlist that he has. He has 37 of them. We can look at every single one if we want to. We can also see the approximate monthly listeners in here. And we can see which kind of genres he's sharing, how long they stay in there, what position he shares them to. So it's kind of overwhelming, honestly. And this is why a lot of people do badly on SubmitHub at first, is because their methodology is kind of just like, let's just pick a bunch of stuff. And that can work, but it's often not going to, right? I don't think this song would fit on an indie... It might fit on an indie pop playlist. But, well, indie pop, alt pop, so they're saying this. So this one could be good. 42 songs in the genre. I can look at the statistics. I can look at the growth of the playlist over time. purple line here is the follower growth. It's actually a pretty small playlist, but it has pretty good streaming numbers via their estimate on SubmitHub. And we can also look at the tracks on here to see if it's a good fit. Now, you don't have to do this level of interpretation for every playlist you look at, but this to me looks like a playlist that, or a curator that we can easily reach for 1 credit, right? So I'm just going to click 1 credit. And then we just go down the list, right? We use one by one. Chill Pop Vibes looks realistic. They're running ads in it right now with SubmitHub links. It's got 50 to 70 listeners per month based on their estimates. And it's only 2 credits, so sounds good. So it's letting us know that they review for these other places. Their engagement is low, which might be a sign for you to not submit to them, but, do with that what you will. And I'll do one more with you, MV playlists. I love strong vocals, strong production. This song is very good production and phenomenal vocals. It's not longer than 5 minutes. It's got no instrumental section. Pop hits that could work. Gay Panic. I don't think the artist is gay, and if they are, it's not a very gay sounding song, if such a thing exists. But this one doesn't seem as accurate, right? Like, it's a pop song, but I don't know if I want it to be on a generic pop hits playlist per se. I could go look at this and see. Just say chill hits, which makes me feel pretty good. Billie Eilish would actually be a good fit. So maybe this is a good curator to submit to. If you look at the Gay Panic, gay bops, we can see if any of this actually makes sense as well. And actually, Troye Sivan I feel like would fit well with this song and this artist. So maybe this actually is quite a good playlist. So we can't submit to the playlist, we can submit to the person. And then if they like it, they'll decide where they want to share it. And what we could do is we could add a personalized message and tell them, like, hey, we feel like this song could fit in both of your playlists that you have listed. Let us know which playlist you think it might fit better in. Now, the Pop Hits one has a much higher streaming volume, so we probably want that one anyways. You can customize the pitch for every single person you're pitching to, or you can just send a generic pitch. So if I click Submit, I can just write a generic pitch for everyone. So in this, I wrote, for when you feel like your life is on autopilot, Vi's music has been featured on The Bachelor and was nominated for a Hollywood Independent Music Award. You only get 200 characters, so you have to be pretty tight here. But I'm just basically trying to brag about the song and the artist in this case. Now, once you do that, you hit Submit, and then it charges you, and then this process starts. But what I want to show you now, if we go to Artist View, this song actually got a 75% approval rate. We submitted it we did 1 campaign to 4 people, and it got added to 3 playlists. So this is where you can see your stats here. If I click on any of this, really, it'll open it up. And, 4 responses, 10 credits, 3 approvals. So that's a 75% approval rate, which is actually really good. They said a 31% average. I more than doubled that with this song. This song is a slam dunk. It's an awesome song with an awesome vocalist, with an awesome story the artist has awesome credentials. And I think the accuracy was there in terms of what I was targeting for as well. I also didn't target super hard to reach curators. I targeted ones that were reasonable, not too expensive, not too competitive. If we look at responses, this is how it's see. So Atlas shared it to Pop Chill Out. I could go check out the playlist as well. This was a rejection. Beautiful track. I like the vocals and instrumental. Production-wise, the track is very professional, but we are more into sexy, sensual songs. This one felt a bit sad, mood-focused, so I have to pass on it. All the best. Now, what's interesting about this is I would say this is actually pretty good. This is good feedback. It was, I would say it was honest, but it was also helpful because the next song that we released with this artist it's a little sexy. It's also a bit more sad and mood focused. So to me, this says they might like the new song that this artist released, which is perfect, right? I might submit it to them and see if they bite. And if they don't bite at that point, then I'll say, okay, let's not submit to this curator again because maybe they're not a good bite. But all of these people that did approve it are probably hot leads for the next song that I do for this artist or for any similar artist that I'm submitting to on SubmitHub. So that's the kind of feedback you get. Sometimes it's going to be better than this. Sometimes it's going to be worse. But if it's bad, you can report it. And trust me when I say that the Jamie from the SubmitHub support team will contact those curators and make sure that they're doing things right. I have seen people that I know get messages from their SubmitHub support people, and they really do keep their curators in line. Like I make curator on SubmitHub. I haven't been active in the past year, but I have dealt with them, being like, oh, hey, this person said this. what are you doing with this playlist? This playlist doesn't have enough streams anymore. We got to take it out. They're very strict with their rules, which I think is a fantastic thing as an artist, because you don't want to be added on a bunch of crap, and you don't want to risk getting your music banned when you use a platform like this. You want it to be safe. So real quick, I want to talk about the overall strategy and where SubmitHub fits into it. So for example, if you only have a $50 budget to market your song, that's not really enough to do a dedicated Spotify streaming conversion ad campaign like I would talk about in a lot of my videos. It's just too small of a budget. Something like SubmitHub, you can go in and drop 20, 30, bucks. And so your $50 budget, I would say, is probably just best suited on a platform like SubmitHub. Now, if you have a $1,000 budget, the way I normally tell people to spend that is do about, if you have a music video, maximum $100 or 10% in YouTube ads, $50 in SubmitHub, and $850 in meta ads. So the vast majority in meta ads, because that gives you a controllable, targetable fan base that's going to latch on for a long time. The SubmitHub stuff, you're really trying to get on small, tightly accurate, curated playlists that are going to help train the Spotify algorithm know who to associate your music next to. You're not going for crazy high streams, and remember, this is Spotify playlisting, which doesn't have an inherently high interaction rate. So that's why you don't want a bunch of money being spent on the platform, at least unless you're counteracting it with other like higher quality sources, like growing your ads and stuff like that. Now, if you have a much bigger budget, then you don't have to be as granular on SubmitHub. Like I showed you how you can filter everything and find the right people and submit to them. If you have a huge budget, it might not be worth your time to go through everything and filter that out. It might be better for you to use that let SubmitHub choose for me option, or just do the spray and pray approach. Because for if you're spending $10,000 on your song, do you care if you maximize your SubmitHub credits to $30 to get the perfect ones? Or would you just rather not spend any thought on it and spend $100 and just send it to all the ones that fit a category? So that's how I would recommend using SubmitHub. It should be as part of an overall strategy, unless you have a smaller budget, and then it should be perhaps the main part of your strategy. But once you start getting bigger money, you probably won't even have enough curators to submit to if you had $1,000 and you wanted to do it all on SubmitHub, for example. So that's my opinion on that. Now, I just talked about ads a lot, and if you want to learn how you can run ads to promote your music on streaming platforms, you can check out this video right here. But if you prefer an organized course with access to my country list and a community where you can ask questions, check out this video down here, or check out this link down here. And I don't know if you noticed my shirt chains. I forgot to film an outro for this video. So anyways, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.